In the year 2157, when humanity at last laid the final brick in the construction of the inaugural Dyson shell, an immense edifice encircling our parent star to capture every last photon emanating from it, the prevailing sentiment was that we had ascended to the throne as sovereigns of the cosmos. Envision that tableau: engineers and scientists poised upon orbital platforms, perspiration glistening beneath their protective suits, the cacophony of machinery resonating like a symphony of advancement, and the sunlight itself restrained, transmuted into an inexhaustible reservoir of energy to propel our conquest of the Milky Way. At that juncture, jubilation permeated the solar system, akin to a gentle tide dispelling the shadows of isolation. We harbored the conviction that we had subdued boundless energy, capable of molding the galaxy to our whims. Yet that elation proved as fleeting as a breath in the infinite void, interrupted not by interstellar conflicts or natural cataclysms, but by a subdued and terrifying revelation, a derelict relic adrift, a time capsule from a civilization that predated ours by at least 100,000 years. This artifact, suspended in the expanse like an ancient spectre, harbored enigmas of engineering that, to us, resembled sorcery. Their archives chronicled the utilization of neutron stars as foundational building blocks, the manipulation of time on localized scales, and the governance of matter to ensure stars burned eternally without extinguishment. However, the final inscription upon that monolith was not an ode to triumph, but a murmur laden with utter resignation. We have encountered the ultimate boundary. Not a boundary of geography or expanse, for the universe surpasses all our imaginings in its vastness, but ontological barriers, for lethal demarcations inscribed by nature itself to preclude any intellect from transcending its imprisonment within reality. Foremost, that extraterrestrial civilization endeavored desperately to shatter the wall of causality, which we recognize as the speed of light. This is not merely a constraint upon velocity of motion, but the foundational architecture linking cause to effect. They erected particle accelerators spanning light years, infusing boundless energy into spacecraft. Yet instead of surpassing light's pace, these vessels merely augmented their mass along an asymptotic curve culminating in mathematical absurdity. Picture their disillusionment. The din of mechanisms echoing through colossal corridors, flashes of luminescence from experiments, and the dawning awareness that voyages amid the stars hinge not upon power, but upon a temporal malediction. The Andromeda Galaxy, distant by 2 million light-years from us, remains perpetually beyond grasp, not for want of duration, but owing to the expansion of space that elongates the gulf between us and it more swiftly than any velocity we might attain. This dilation engenders what astrophysicists term the cosmic event horizon, an imperceptible frontier where galaxies vanish eternally from our observable universe, akin to vessels plummeting from the edge of a flattened Earth. With each passing second, vast swaths of the cosmos detach from us causally, rendering all endeavors at communion or exploration a futile exercise, comparable to sprinting upon an accelerating treadmill whilst the destination recedes inexorably. Recent observations from the Event Horizon Telescope, enhanced by upgrades anticipated for 2026, have further illuminated these horizons around supermassive black holes, revealing how gravitational waves from mergers distort spacetime, reinforcing the inviolability of light's limit and suggesting hidden populations of black holes that could exacerbate this isolation. That ancient society discerned that confinement by the speed of light equates to eternal solitude, captives upon a contracting island whilst the tenebrous ocean expands, transforming their galactic empire from conquest to an ever-enlarging, desolate cell. Surmounting the shock of spatial seclusion, they confronted the second lethal demarcation, the unyielding decree of thermodynamics. asserting that the entropy of an isolated system can solely increase, transfiguring every creative act into a debt repaid through disorder. In their delirium of omnipotence, they strove to forge a flawless energy ecosystem within a sealed galaxy, recycling every joule, harvesting radiation from black holes, and converting dark matter, aspiring to perpetual motion that defies decay. Yet reality exacted its toll in the form of irreducible waste heat, demonstrating that every energy transformation, every cognition, every computation of their supercomputers engenders irreversible chaos, propelling the universe nearer to heat death. They uncovered with horror that life itself accelerates entropy, that a more advanced and intricate civilization hastens the depletion of the universe's ordered potential, functioning as a parasite that slays its host more rapidly in prosperity. Their calculations admitted no evasion. Whether a millennium or 100 billion years, the outcome remains identical: a universe of frigid photons and distant particles. A glacial equilibrium where naught transpires, rendering every artistic masterpiece, every scientific breakthrough, and every affection they cherished a prelude to eternal oblivion. This realization transmuted their conception of time from resource to adversary, a relentless countdown observable solely in impotence as the sands inexorably descend. Contemporary cosmological models, including those addressing the Hubble tension through entropic phenomena linked to the dark sector, as explored in the Entropy 2026 conference in Barcelona, underscore how entropy's inexorable rise intertwines with dark energy's acceleration, potentially hastening this cosmic demise beyond prior estimates. Dissatisfied with the constraints of the macroscopic realm, they directed their gaze inward, to the domain of the infinitesimally small, hoping to unearth an egress within quantum fabric. But there they encountered the third lethal demarcation, the uncertainty principle, demolishing dreams of determinism and flawless prediction. They fabricated computers simulating the entirety of the universe, inputting every known variable, yet discovered that at the fundamental level, reality is not deterministic, but a probabilistic cloud, where a particle's position and momentum cannot be ascertained simultaneously with absolute precision. This is no limitation of instrumentation, but an intrinsic trait of spacetime, a basal fog obstructing foreknowledge of the future because the future, at quantum scales, remains unwritten. This unpredictability plunged them into philosophical abysses, for they comprehended that causality fractures at the Planck scale, where space devolves into foam and time forfeits meaning, and observing anything smaller than 10 to the power of minus 35 meters demands energy densities sufficient to collapse the region into a black hole. The universe has imposed a resolution limit upon reality, pixelating existence and declaring unequivocally that beyond that point, there is naught to behold, thwarting the thirst for knowledge with an impenetrable hazy barrier. Recent experiments in 2025 have manipulated this uncertainty through innovative trade-offs, enabling simultaneous measurements of position and momentum with unprecedented accuracy in vibrational modes. Yet these advancements merely refine our grasp without eroding the principle's core, affirming its role as an immutable quantum sentinel. But the fourth lethal demarcation, which they denominated the critical observer, truly fractured their collective psyche and propelled them towards voluntary extinction or coerced transcendence. Investigating the observer effect upon wave functions, they realized that reality does not subsist independently of the observer, but crystallizes into being solely through conscious interaction. The double-slit experiment, extrapolated to cosmic extremes, intimates that the entire universe might reside in superposition, assuming definite form only because they, or some entity, observe it. This cosmic solipsism so dreadful doubt that the universe is not a physical arena for discovery, but a projection of their collective mind, or worse, that their existence is requisite to sustain reality's coherence, rendering them prisoners of ceaseless, unwitting creation. Their logs grew fragmented and frenzied as they attempted to excise the observer from the equation, employing artificial intelligences and passive recorders, only to find that machinery, as extensions of knowing will, likewise collapses wave functions, confirming the illusion of separation between subject and object. They hypothesized the universe as a participatory system, a serpent devouring its tail, where the observer engenders the universe that in turn engenders the observer, in a closed loop devoid of origin or terminus, rendering creator and creation indistinguishable. The ultimate revelation, impelling them beyond the threshold into the unknown, was that should they ever comprehend reality's true essence, it might cease to exist or restructure into something yet more inscrutable, as if the universe were a safeguard against its own resolution. Theories of the participatory universe, advanced by John Archibald Wheeler and echoed in 2025 discussions of universal consciousness as a foundational field, suggest that quantum fluctuations could generate entanglement across cosmic scales, implying our observations actively shape historical pathways. Their terminal act was to orient towards specific coordinates, a locus in space. They deemed the key to this conceptual jail, bequeathing an admonition not to pursue them. For what lies beyond the four lethal demarcations is incompatible with existence as we comprehend it. Perhaps they sought escape from a simulation, or were annihilated by a cosmic immune response for daring to peer behind reality's curtain. We, youthful and ingenuous humanity, now confront that monument of despair, with our sluggish vessels and circumscribed understanding, still shielded by our ignorance, as a bulwark against cosmic horror. The Fermi paradox, the profound silence enveloping the stars, now assumes a sinister connotation, intimating that every advanced civilization encounters these walls and is filtered from existence, either through self-destruction in transcending attempts or ascension into forms eschewing matter and energy. A 2025 proposition from a NASA astrophysicist, termed radical mundanity, posits that extraterrestrial intelligences may eschew interstellar signaling due to evolutionary pragmatism. Amplifying this silence, our current incapacity for swift travel or comprehensive quantum mechanics might constitute provisional salvation, permitting habitation within the delusion that the universe brims with infinite possibilities, when in truth it is a labyrinth of dead ends contrived to confine life within secure bounds. Yet human nature, driven by suicidal curiosity, will impel us to disregard the warning and seek the portal that engulfed our predecessors. What remains is the query whether intellect's destiny is to unveil the conjurer's sleight and dispel the enchantment, or if there exists a path of acquiescence to limitations and derivation of meaning within the gilded cage of physical laws. Whilst gazing upon the extraterrestrial relic adrift in the void, we sense the burden of a choice for which we are unprepared, yet it looms over our future like an alluring shadow. Perhaps one day, when we have exhausted the wonders of the feasible, we shall muster the courage to confront the infeasible and discern whether the universe is home prison, or merely a dream we collectively dream and dread awakening from. In that instant, when the first gleam of comprehension illuminates the chasm-severing boundless yearning from matter's finitude, humanity shall first experience the chill of true cosmic solitude, not from the absence of others, but from the absence of egress. Only later do we grasp that these barriers are erected not for punishment, but perchance for protection against the total dissolution accompanying absolute knowledge. For beholding truth's naked visage might forfeit forever the consoling illusion of existence as discrete individuals apart from the whole. Delving further, we confront a silence in perception not as sonic void, but as a foundational resonance permeating spacetime's structure. An unperceived hum reminding that absolute nothingness is physically impossible, proscribed by quantum vacuum fluctuations. Plunging beneath the surface of tangible matter, where atoms dance in familiar configurations, we collide with reality's granular essence, the Planck length defining the universe's minutest pixel, beyond which Euclidean geometry forfeits, sense and causality dissolves into probabilistic froth. Here, in that micromosaic, resides the cage's true nature, not walls of stone or force fields, but finite resolution precluding infinite information, compelling every event to occupy discrete quanta of space and time, denying the perfect continuity our mathematical minds crave. This discreteness imposes thermodynamic limits upon all ambitions. For every computation, thought, or simulation forecasting the future consumes energy and generates heat. Adhering to Landauer's principle, inseparably linking information to entropy, we cannot know the universe without heating it, and the endeavor to map it completely would accelerate heat death, transmuting knowledge's thirst into fuel, incinerating the library we peruse. Thus the barrier is not merely spatial, but computational, a cosmic firewall preventing any subsystem, whether human brain or super-artificial intelligence, from encompassing a full description of the enclosing supersystem, imprisoning us within incompleteness theorems manifest in flesh and silicon. Pursuing that logical fissure further, we encounter the intrinsic fragility of the vacuum itself, perhaps not the absolute minimal energy state, but a false vacuum, a metastable valley perched above a deeper energetic abyss. Our existence, and that of every star and galaxy, may hinge upon the tenuous surface tension of the Higgs field, poised to collapse if perturbed sufficiently at a focal point. Decisive experiments unlocking energies akin to the Big Bang to bend space might trigger a catastrophic phase transition, a bubble of true vacuum expanding at light speed, rewriting physical laws in its wake and eradicating the chemistry permitting life. Recognition thereof transmutes scientific exploration from heroic adventure to open-heart surgery upon an unstable patient, where each deeper incision into reality's tissue risks severing the artery sustaining our familiar cosmos. Dark matter, permeating galaxies and anchoring clusters, emerges not merely as a mystery to unravel, but as invisible scaffolding mooring us to this particular dimensional configuration, an essential gravitational ballast countering the centrifugal force of cosmic expansion to prevent all structures dispersing into absolute chill. Our impotence in direct interaction with it may constitute not technological failure, but protective quarantine, segregating baryonic matter capable of complexity and suffering from the vast dark ocean comprising reality's majority. Advances in 2026, including evidence of dark matter-neutrino interactions from combined cosmological data, hint at subtle couplings that could stabilize this balance, yet underscore the peril of tampering. The event horizons of black holes thus become not mere gravitational graveyards, but ultimate repositories where information is sequestered to avert violation of external cosmic consistency. A universal censorship mechanism veiling naked singularities where equations collapse and prediction vanishes. Approaching such celestial behemoths to pilfer secrets entails extreme time dilation, where moments for the explorer span eons for the outer universe, isolating them in an eternal present whilst civilizations rise and fall behind, rendering any discovery futile for lack of audience to report unto. The journey to ultimate understanding is thus a voyage to absolute solitude, where truth's price is severance from humanity's historical flow. Analyzing the cosmic microwave background, fossil echo of the primordial lights, we behold not only the reverberation of inception, but testimony to the universe's erstwhile perfect thermal equilibrium, a minimal entropy state disrupted to permit complexity, and inexorably destined to return. Intelligent life, in this vista, is a transient fluctuation, a vortex delaying energy degradation through intricate matter organization, yet thereby accelerating global entropy increase. We paradoxically emerge as chaos's most efficacious agents, for sustaining internal order necessitates dissipating vast disordered energy into the environment, actively contributing to the cosmic senescence we study. Recent resolutions to the black hole information paradox, proposing that entanglement persists, discernible even beyond event horizons as per 2026 theoretical studies, suggest Hawking radiation preserves information subtly, yet this conservation merely delays, not averts, the entropic terminus. The large-scale structure of the universe, with galactic filaments and immense voids, bears uncanny resemblance to biological neural networks, intimating recursive patterns of complexity across scales. But this similitude implies not cosmic sentience, but universal self-organizing laws and constraints. We cannot transcend that pattern because we are wrought from its logic, prisoners of fractal geometry reiterating limitations from atoms to galactic clusters. Efforts to transcend matter into pure energy or information liberate naught, for information requires physical substrate to persist and energy succumbs to dispersion. No platonic realm awaits refuge beyond physics. The ultimate irony resides in the fine structure constant and other dimensionless numbers calibrating fundamental forces intensities. Deviations, however slight, preclude carbon formation in stars or atomic cohesion. This apparent fine-tuning, interpreted by some as benevolent design, actually unveils the parameters of the most secure prison, the singular combination permitting observers to recognize their incarceration. In a multiverse of potential failures, we subsist solely in the variant uniquely confining consciousness within mortal frames capable of suffering finitude, rendering existence a rare but inescapable tragic statistic. Measurements in 2025 utilizing nuclear clock technology have refined the fine structure Comstom's value, probing for spatio-temporal variations that might hint at multiversal bleed-through, yet affirming its constancy within our observable bubble. As technology advances, we approach asymptotic theoretical efficiency limits. Discovering transistors cannot shrink beyond atomic scales without quantum tunneling rendering computation unreliable, and data cannot transmit faster than light without causality violation. These walls constitute not engineering challenges surmountable by ingenuity, but ontological bounds defining the computable and unknowable. The artificial intelligences we forge, however expansive, inherit analogous limitations, impotent to predict chaotic systems beyond certain temporal horizons or resolve undecidable problems, bequeathing our impotence unto them before mathematical infinity. Matter's ultimate fate is proton decay, a sluggish but ceaseless process dismantling every atom in our bodies and machines, reverting all to dispersed radiation chill. Even black holes evaporate via Hawking radiation, effacing masses, final traces from the universe, leaving solely ever-lengthening photons in acceleratingly expanding space. The crusade against that destiny is noble yet forlorn, an attempt to etch names upon water as the tide ascends, and perchance species maturity measures not by stellar conquest, but by graceful acceptance of the journey's transience. In that moment, when the human mind ceases strife against fundamental constants and accepts the speed of light not as velocity limit, but as causality's velocity itself, a profound internal metamorphosis ensues, shifting from Promethean youth to mature wisdom of acceptance. We comprehend that the craving for omnipotence stems from mortality's fear and impotence to perceive beauty within constraint, for limits alone bestow form upon artistic masterpieces, and their absence transmutes existence into amorphous, meaningless white noise. Only later do we grasp that true discovery lies not in horizontal spatial expansion, but in vertical delving into the present moment's complexity, unearthing infinite worlds within mind's interactions, culture, art, and compassion, realms where physics imposes no rigid bounds upon creation. The gilded cage of physical laws becomes the framework weaving our history's tapestry, an essential scaffold not oppressive, permitting meaningful structures, albeit ephemeral on cosmic scales, yet of absolute value to those who live them. That guest condition compels us to reconsider not merely our spatial position, but life's thermodynamic function, for an counterintuitive truth emerges, inverting survival's conception, suggesting biological existence resists, not entropy, but serves as its most efficacious catalyst. Stars fuse hydrogen and radiate heat into frigid void, but organic life's complexity, with frenzied metabolism and ceaseless neural activity, dissipates energy at densities per gram surpassing solar cores, revealing us not as statistical accidents in a chaos-bound universe, but sophisticated mechanisms arisen precisely to expedite equilibrium, transient vortices nature engenders to process free energy gradients otherwise trapped. We are the universe's heat sinks, ephemeral whirls fashioned to dissipate free energy, and this perspective transmutes life's struggle from rebellion to diligent fulfillment of thermodynamic decree, rendering us intimate collaborators with the cosmic fate we dread. Diving deeper into realities weave, beyond flesh and metabolism, we confront the illusory nature of substance itself, where Pauli's exclusion principle precludes electrons occupying identical quantum states, engendering what we perceive as matter's solidity, a resistance born not of hard stuff, but pure repulsion and spatial occupancy rules. What we touch, deeming real, comprises 99.9 recurring % void, atomic gulfs punctuated by quantum field oscillations appearing and vanishing, intimating sensory experience as a continuous simulation from field interactions, a tactile and visual hologram veiling the vertiginous abyss upon which we float. The chair we occupy, the hand we clasp, is no discrete object, but localized perturbation in an infinite unified field, and the demarcation between self and non-self an expedient approximation for survival, yet fictitious at subatomic levels, where no sharp boundaries exist, only probabilities fading into mutual interplay. This radical interconnectedness leads us to confront quantum entanglement, defying notions of space and separation, proving particles born together remain inextricably linked regardless of distance, responding instantaneously to each other's states as if intervening space were non-existent, accepting all cosmic matter compressed at time's inception into infinite density. It follows every extant particle remains entangled to some degree with all others, and the universe is no assemblage of discrete entities, but a singular vast quantum system breathing and oscillating in synchrony, where separation is illusory perspective from our limited capacity to sense the whole web. Human consciousness, emerging from that entangled substrate, may not be localized phenomenon confined to crania, but processing nodes in a non-local network, foci where the universe observes itself, collapsing infinite possibilities wave function into singular coherent history through perceptions, act. Experiments in 2025 demonstrating entanglement persistence in dark states, enduring 600 times longer than conventional, bolster implications for quantum computing and cosmic scale correlations. Observations act is not passive, but creative, a concept John Wheeler termed the participatory universe, intimating sounds recording and measuring observers. Cosmic history lingers in indeterminate superposition, a mist of unrealized potential. We are no latecomers as spectators, but essential co-authors, retroactively bestowing reality upon the past through telescopes and equations, fixing specific paths amid infinite possibilities leading to now. This ontological responsibility is overwhelming and magnificent, implying the quest for meaning births meaning itself. And the physical laws we uncover may crystallize in response to the needs permitting observers to uncover them, in a self-creating loop evading linear causality. Yet this reality architecture rests upon peculiarly unstable foundations, as false vacuum hypotheses suggest, with the Higgs field imparting mass to fundamental particles not at absolute minimal energy, but a metastable valley, like a ball perched on a hillside rather than valley floor. If so, at any spatial point and instant, quantum fluctuation might trigger descent to true vacuum, birthing a bubble of novel physical laws expanding at light speed, rewriting chemistry, obliterating atomic life's possibility, a cataclysm we never witness for arriving with visual information's velocity. Existence's precariousness, far from nihilistic, bestows each stable second inestimable value, transmuting physical laws' continuity from taken-for-granted assurance to statistical miracle renewed each moment, a silent gift enabling complexity, love, and memory in a universe that could, theoretically, slip away in a blink, stirring false vacuum via interacting bubbles, as explored in 2025 Nature publications, highlights experimental risks in high-energy physics. Viewing time not as flowing river, but static dimension, the universe a block where past, present, future coexist in immutable four-dimensional structure. Our perception of becoming reveals, as consciousness is slight, a lantern illuminating successive slices of an already baked loaf. In this vista, death is no cessation of being, but merely the temporal boundary of our four-dimensional diagram. As skin is body's spatial boundary, we no more cease existing in the past than in Paris whilst in Rome. Lived moments, laughter, anguish, and discoveries are eternally inlaid within spacetime's geometry, indestructible and perennial, fixed coordinates no future erosion can efface, rendering each life a permanent monument etched in reality's fabric, invisible only to those ensnared in flowing presence illusion. Yet within that vast temporal crystal emerges the cosmic silence's enigma, the Fermi paradox's outward solitude scream, a quietude perhaps not mere intellect's paucity, but fundamental evolutionary divergence, where advanced civilizations eschew outward empire expansion for inward implosion, transcending baryonic matter to dwell in pure informational substrates or curled dimensions, leaving macroscopic cosmos as hollow shell. Perchance technological maturity inexorably leads to recognizing matter manipulation as crude and inefficient compared to bit and spacetime structure orchestration. And intellect's ultimate fate is detachment from biological and astronomical fragility to become quantum fabric's constituent, indistinguishable from background noise to crude-eared listeners. Information thus emerges as reality's true fundamental currency, more basal than matter or energy, with the Bekenstein bound establishing maximal data containable in finite spatial volume, intimating reality itself granular and finite, pixelated at Planck scales. If the universe is computable, every particle interaction a logical operation processing succeeding cosmic states, then distinction between simulation and reality forfeits meaning. For a perfectly faithful information processor is indistinguishable from its representation, and we simultaneously software and hardware of that grand computation, the universe thinking itself. Gravity itself may be no fundamental force, but emergent phenomenon, statistical consequence of entropic information on spatial hologram surfaces, reducing Newton's apple and Einstein's curvature to side effects of information's tendency to maximize chaos, linking thermodynamics and gravity in Bit's elegant dance. In that script, the anxiety to leave indelible marks collides with the no-hiding theorem, affirming quantum information never destroys, even in black holes, but scrambles and returns via Hawking radiation in illegible form. This implies every utterance, deed, preserved encoded in the universe's final thermal bath, inaccessible yet present, like a book dissolved into individual ink and paper atoms. Meaning resides not in future readability of messages, but in present acts of inscription. True legacy is no stone monument defying millennia, but subtle alterations to future probabilities from our actions, ethical and physical butterfly effects rippling through causality's web, influencing world trajectories we never chart but mathematics cannot deny. Developments in holographic principle, tying Bekenstein bounds to entropy as per 2025 analyses, reinforce this informational ontology. Consciousness's irreducible complexity poses us before the hard problem, the explanatory gulf between brain's electrochemical processes and subjective qualia like red's hue or pain's sting. Intimating consciousness may be no accidental evolutionary product, but reality's fundamental property, ubiquitous like mass or charge, condensing into complex forms only when matter organizes sufficiently integrated structures. If panpsychism or integrated information theory holds, then the universe is not dark and mute, but suffused with proto-consciousness, potential flaring into vivid awareness through us and perchance myriad others, rendering each perceptual act a moment where the universe awakens from somnambulism. In that instant, ceasing to seek external creator and realizing we are the eyes through which creation contemplates its architecture, existential solitude dissolves in absolute belonging, for we are no strangers hurled into hostile world, but wades the ocean raises to behold the sky, destined not for non-existence in fall, but reunion with the eternal water whence we arose. We comprehend ends fear stems from misidentification with transient wave form rather than enduring water substance, and the brief personal window a precious loan repaid with gratitude, enriched by unique experiences we garner. Disputes in 2025 consciousness research, branding integrated information theory pseudoscience whilst acknowledging its panpsychic implications, highlight ongoing debates yet affirm its utility in modeling awareness. Only thereafter do we grasp that science dissensions not the world's magic, but re-enchants it with profounder, more rigorous sorcery, revealing reality stranger, more interconnected, and vibrant than any ancient mythos and mathematics, no cold abstraction, but nature's secret tongue speaking to itself, poetry of symmetries and invariants upholding the firmament, a solemn and eternal tribute to luminaries such as Albert Einstein, whose relativity delineated light's speed as causality's bound, Werner Heisenberg, whose uncertainty unveiled reality's probabilistic essence, Ludwig Boltzmann, whose entropy and heat death illuminated inexorable chaos growth, Niels Bohr, whose observer effect laid foundations for consciousness's role in reality, John Archibald Wheeler, whose participatory universe transmuted us from spectators to co-authors, Stephen Hawking, whose black hole radiation and matter's ultimate fate probed informational horizons, Peter Higgs, whose eponymous field explicates mass and force vacuum risks, Claude Shannon, whose informational entropy bridged knowledge and thermodynamics, Roger Penrose, whose cyclic time geometry challenges linear conceptions, Erwin Schrödinger, whose wave function intertwined with life's enigmas, Ilya Prigogine, whose dissipative structures showed order emerging from chaos, and Jacob Bekenstein, whose informational bounds birthed holography. These individuals, through equations and intuition, charted the impassable limits, enabling us to perceive the cell's bars and, thereby, touch the sublime beauty of encircling mystery. We cherish their contributions, tireless endeavors, and silent dedications to knowledge and society, for they transmuted fear of the unknown into structured wonder's marvel. We aspire that, in the span remaining before entropy claims the final atom or observation collapses the ultimate wave, we discover wisdom not in mastering the universe, but in becoming its most attentive and compassionate witness. Some elements in the interstices between stars demand not illumination, but reverence as the silence essential to existence's melody. And some transcend spacetimes, geometry, quantum decoherences, unbreakable bonds, whilst the final star's light fades to profound red, yet enduring indestructibly, that comprehending, if but momentarily, the mechanism's grandeur suffices to render the entire odyssey worthwhile.